you know, there truly is no positive way or spin that you can take, or that I can take at least, when discussing the fact that my favorite hockey team, my pride, like something that is so deeply ingrained in my personality and what I want to do with my life, being eliminated. There is no way that I could spin it that would put a smile on my face, or put a smile, I guess, on your face as well, because it's truly not the reality of the situation and what is to come. But what I can say is I will be here no matter what happens, no matter if we see familiar faces in the future coming back, and whatever the team looks like in October. No matter what happens, no matter how bad things get, no matter how crazy things get this offseason, because they will, I'm going to be here the whole step of the way reporting it to you guys, because it's truly something that I love to do. It pains me to say it. It pains me to say it. The Toronto Maple Leafs last night were eliminated in 5 games by the Florida Panthers to a score of 3-2 in overtime. And with that, eliminating them from the Stanley Cup playoffs and potentially ending the core 4 Kyle Dubas, Brandon Shanahan, we can and we will era of Toronto Maple Leaf hockey. Now, we don't know that for sure. We don't know if MLSE is going to look at this and say, we're going to run this back. We made strides this year. We made it to the second round for the first time in 19 years. Or if they're going to look at it and say, this has been a colossal failure by our part, by Brendan Shanahan's part, by Kyle Dubas' part, and by the players' part, and effectively will blow it up, is what a lot of people are saying. And that's, I guess, the biggest discussion here. What happens next? Truly, what happens next? Because there are 2 sides of the spectrum here. And depending on what side you're on, whether blow it up or keep it together, there is an equal amount of consideration to be taken into both sides when deciding what you're going to go forward with as your opinion on this team. In my personal opinion, the fact of the matter is the Toronto Maple Leafs made strides this year. They made it to the second round for the first time in my life. I am 18 years old, and they finally did it, and I made core memories that are going to last me a lifetime. It's very well documented on my Instagram just how euphoric I was, how happy I was that the team that I have supported throughout my entire life, the team that has become my pride and joy, a part of something that I want to do with my life in the future in terms of following hockey, specifically with regards to this team, and just something that has become so ingrained in my personality, finally winning, finally feeling the pride and joy of having my team win. But at the same time, we only got a quarter of the way there. We got 5 wins in, and you need 16 to win a Stanley Cup. And that's the fact of the matter. The goal was never to win just a series. The goal was never to get to the second round and go out in 7 or in 5, in this case, to the Florida Panthers. The goal from the start of the Shanahan era was to bring a Stanley Cup back to Toronto. And the fact of the matter is, that has not happened. And if a result like this had happened, say, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, hell, maybe even last year, we would be having a separate conversation, I suppose, about this team maybe sticking together. But with how they went out, I don't think it's the fact that they went out in the second round. I think it's how they went out, and who they went out to is what is going to be the end of this core. And to make it very clear, I am not in agreement with blowing this entire thing to smithereens. I get the argument being made. I truly do. About these guys have failed. Austin Matthews has failed. Mitch Marner has failed. William Nylander, Morgan Riley had fantastic series, fantastic playoffs. But this team has failed again. And how many times are they going to run it back before they decide this team simply is not good enough? Now, could they one day get there? Could they one day win a Stanley Cup? Hopefully. But the question of, will it be under this management? Will it be under this core is now completely up in the air in terms of which guys are back next year, which guys stay, which guys are gone, because there's going to be a lot of change in Toronto, and I don't think a lot of Leaf fans are ready for it. Now, I'll stop the melancholic dread of Leaf fans for a second. Let's talk about a few positives here, as little as there are. First thing I'd like to mention, Joseph Woll. That kid was fed to the Wolves in Game 3 versus the Florida Panthers, and the kid played phenomenal. In each of the games that he played, the 3 that he played in, he gave the Leafs a chance to win. He was going save for save with Sergei Bobrovsky throughout his time in the net, and I believe that he has deserved a spot on this team going forward, which personally to me renders Matt Murray obsolete. And so a big question for the Leafs heading into this offseason, specifically with regards of who stays and who goes, what now happens with the goaltending? What now happens with the 3 goalies that you have, Matt Murray, Ilya Samsonov, who's a restricted free agent, and Joseph Woll? In my personal opinion, you re-sign Ilya Samsonov, you can find a trade partner for Matt Murray. Somebody will be willing to take on that contract. You'll probably have to throw in a sweetener to do it, but I think that opening night, you're probably rolling with Joseph Woll and Ilya Samsonov heading into next season. William Nylander, just wow, for all of the crap that he takes from Leaf fans, from the media, from the small portion of the Leaf fan base that has been adamant about trading this guy for years. What a performance in the playoffs, single-handedly willing them to overtime in Game 5. The guy is truly a playoff performer, and he continues to prove it. So William Nylander, just thank you so much. He has been incredible. You could even make the argument that the guy was the MVP for the Leafs. Personally, for me, it's the next guy I'm going to talk about. Morgan Rielly. Wow. Just, I can't even put into words how great Morgan Rielly was. He truly is the heart and soul of this team. And in the playoffs, he proved that. The guy was a machine, an animal, and you could tell even in Game 5 up until the final goal, that guy wanted it more than any other player on the ice. And the way he talked after that game, how emotional he was, saying that he loved these guys, he truly is, in my opinion, the leader. Arguably, I would say more than John Tavares is. Constantly coming up with key goals, constantly making plays in the offensive zone. He was even making impacts in the defensive zone throughout this series. Morgan Rielly, hands down, is the MVP of this team, the heart and soul and the fire of this team. And if you told me halfway through the season that this is the production that we would get out of Morgan Rielly in the playoffs, I would be dumbfounded. But he is just a killer. He played with such a snarl, such an edge, that it's something that you didn't see from a lot of the other players in this series. Morgan Rielly certainly wanted it. And so the big question on a lot of Leaf fans' minds, what happens with the core 4? What happens with the core of Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, John Tavares, and I guess we'll say core 5 with Morgan Rielly, because these are truly the 5 guys, which I know I just said Rielly is the heart and soul of the team, but these guys technically are the team. They are who the team is constructed around. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I see both sides of the argument. I see wanting to blow the thing to smithereens, start over, get some new faces in here. But I also see the side, which I guess I lean more to, of stick with these guys. I agree that changes need to be made, but I don't think that getting rid of Austin Matthews, or I guess one of Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, or John Tavares makes your team any better. We are talking about some of the elites at these positions in the NHL, and please show me, what move do you make that trades away one of these guys, let's say Mitch Marner, who's arguably the best right winger in the NHL? What move is made that trades away the best right winger in the NHL and makes your team better? Please show me. Show me what move that is, and I'll make that move. We'll trade away Mitch Marner, which makes the Leafs better and more fit to win a Stanley Cup. And the reality of the situation is, That move doesn't exist. Oh, but the cap flexibility, the getting rid of a big contract, this and that. Cap space is rendered useless unless you use it. If they're going to go out and spend the money on bottom six forwards, on a decent middle six forward, how does that make you better? Like, please show me. Show me what move it is that is made that gets rid of one of or more than one of the core four that makes the Toronto Maple Leafs better. I don't see it. I remember a quote by Elliot Friedman after the Leafs blew a 3-1 series lead to the Montreal Canadiens. Still got PTSD from that one, where he said, the Leafs have talent, and when you have talent like they do, he believes that you ride that talent until you can't anymore. And I agree with that statement 110%. I don't see how getting rid of talent makes your team better. But snarl, but playoff experience, but edge, but this, but that. Where does that come from? It comes from experience. It comes from losses. How many times did teams like the Washington Capitals, the St. Louis Blues, any team that has won a Stanley Cup, how many times did they lose before they won? Every team has a different journey. Every team that's won a Stanley Cup has a different journey. For the Washington Capitals, it was continually going out in the second round to the Pittsburgh Penguins. For the Tampa Bay Lightning, it was failure after failure after failure for John Cooper until they finally broke through and won back-to-back Stanley Cups and made a third final. For the St. Louis Blues, it was a multitude of playoff failures and change and all of this until one year, play Gloria, it finally clicked. In my opinion, you win in this league through sticking with a group of players that have been through all the ups and downs of being on a team. Until eventually one year, it clicks. There's no year or way of looking at it that can predict that. Look at the Capitals. Who thought that the year that the Washington Capitals won the Stanley Cup, that they were going to beat the Pittsburgh Penguins, beat the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then go on to win the damn Stanley Cup? Nobody could have predicted that until they did it. And so in the Toronto Maple Leafs case, I truly believe that blowing up this core that you have spent almost 8 years with, almost an entire portion of my life, not even almost, an entire portion of my life with, would be a huge mistake. And yet, it's not entirely their decision. It is not going to be up to Kyle Dubas. It's not going to be up to Sheldon Keefe. And it's not going to be up to Brandon Shanahan. It is entirely, at this point, up to MLSE what happens with this core and this management. Because they're going to look at this and see failure. They're going to look at this and see a team that has continued to blow it in the biggest moments. And it's the reality of the situation, but I don't think it's the right move. I guess what I'll end on here is saying congratulations to the Florida Panthers. Good luck the rest of the way in the playoffs. You guys are going to give Carolina a run for their money. You guys truly are a fantastic team. You schooled the Leafs in this series, and just like I can't give more compliments to a team that has truly been through a lot this year and continue to prove a lot of doubters, including myself, who picked the Leafs to win this series in 6, wrong. And it is what it is. And I can just say congratulations, Florida. I made a lot of lifelong memories throughout this playoff run, and I'm just so grateful for the fact that I got to feel euphoric as a fan of this team at least once in my life. And if this truly is the end of this Leafs core, thank you so much for making me feel that way at least one time in my life. So that is it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Follow the Instagram. It is Buzzin' Hockey. I feel like I make the mistake of still saying it's Buzzin' for Muzzin', even though it is not that anymore. Follow Buzzin' Hockey. That's the Instagram. And I will see you all next time. Thank you so much. Go Leafs go, and keep believing the impossible. I'll see you guys next time.